You're like me, piece by piece you fall apart. I live home, ain't a terrible start. Half moon, hate to the daytime, blueberry knees feeling just fine, yeah. Break up down in the backyard, this in the season's all ours, yeah. Friendly storms seem to pull us back, still lukewarm. Ashtray heart attacks, daffodils, happy pills and Harriet stripes. Half moon, hate to the daytime, blueberry knees feeling just fine, yeah. Break up down in the backyard, this simple season is all ours, yeah. Lake seeming near deep in the stars, this simple season is all ours, yeah. Sweet love, kiss on the eyelid, bruised up, chasing the sky did. You say something about her, my legs brush up beside her. Too young, looking for trouble, new guy lost in the struggle. One more night in the backyard, this simple season. This simple season is all ours, this simple season is all ours. This simple season is all ours, this simple season is all ours.
Welcome. We are back. Another day in the market. A lot going on. What's up, Barasan, Maxime, Scrooge, Medi, Better Freeze, the guy, Mr. Robinson, Ray, Corey, how you all doing? Crazy stuff going on. Tomorrow is quadruple witching. Okay, so major options expiration tomorrow. Today started green, ended up very red across the board. We're going to break down everything. Futures currently are slightly green. We're going to start off with Bitcoin. After that, we're going to be talking about the overall market. Then we're going to be talking about some individual stocks. We'll talk about the ongoing trades. I'll do some premium trade recaps. And we'll see where we are then. So sit back, relax. Let's look at some charts. And let's get started with Bitcoin, which did nothing except drop like 2%. Your daily MACD is still crossed over to green on Bitcoin. Kind of sitting within this pattern still. Not much data for me to really work with right now on Bitcoin. So just being patient here. Want to see if it breaks above 50K first or breaks below 45K first. That's really it for the short term on Bitcoin. When I get more data, I'll be able to speak more about it. Ethereum pulled back about 2%. Up 0.5% in the last hour or 2 hours. And classic bullish divergence is still developing. Still looks fine to me. It's just testing this support level, which was a high from over here, a high from over here, and a low from over here. So it's just testing that, nothing too crazy. Omi with the breakout. What did I say? What did I say last night? It was breaking out and your next level was right here, and you're literally sitting there right now. I think I said, like, we'll see where it is tomorrow night or something like that. And yeah, broke this resistance and went right up to the next resistance, even with Bitcoin pulling back. So you have that as well. Classic bullish divergence currently playing out. Good stuff right there. That's really it for crypto. Nothing too crazy. What's up, GT, in the chat? And yeah, we're gonna move right into stocks and break down everything going on there. Futures actually jumping up a little bit right now. It's a little bit delayed, but looks like we're getting a small bounce here. So let's look at the futures charts first. Russell 2000 futures kind of, probably ran up to a golden zone. There you go. Look at that. Tapped the 618 after the breakout and then pulled back. Hit a technical retrace, pulled back. Now it's kind of trying to flip this previous supply line into a demand line. NASDAQ, the Bartley played out perfectly. It double bottomed at the 786, ran up to the A and the C point, and it came all the way back down. So you have some support here on futures, and then S&P 500 kind of looks like a potential inverse head and shoulders here on the 4 hour on the futures, but clearly rejected this resistance zone that we've been talking about. So that's what you have short term. Let's look at the actual indices now and break down everything. We're gonna get started with the SPY, and let's talk about everything that happened. So I think you gapped up. Yep, you gapped up to almost all-time highs. I mean, you were 1/5% away from all-time highs. What you did on low time frames today on the SPY was you gapped up. You tried to flip your resistance into a support. You could see this blue zone I have right here. Gapped up, then it pulled back into this support, right, from which was a previous resistance. It bounced 0.5% off of that, made a slightly lower high than the initial morning high, created a small supply line, and then it pretty much sold off all the way until the final hour of the day. And then you had a nice power hour. If you follow me on Twitter or if you're in the Discord, literally said that you could get a nice bounce in power hour because a bunch of technicals are aligning towards the lows of the day on low time frames. So looking at the low time frames right now on the SPY, you somewhat flipped the previous resistance from yesterday right after the FOMC meeting into a support. You bounced off of it, and then you pretty much closed in this little support zone from December 7th till December 13th when it broke. So you pretty much closed there. You kind of rejected this supply line, which was your supply line during the day. So very technical. I mean, this drop was pretty rapid. Not really rapid, but it was just very constant. You were just nonstop selling off from like 10:30 to the final hour of the day. So for about 5 hours, it was just pretty much nonstop selling. And you ended up finding support, bouncing, and then pulling back at a supply line. So I think like the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day were very, very technical. What happened in between that, let's call it the cream of the Oreo or whatever you want to call it, was just straight up selling. Now, going into tomorrow, we'll see how the futures look like in the morning. Obviously, you could gap down or gap up or just open regular. Let's say we were to open right over here, 466.43. The support you're honestly going to want to hold is really just this area in general. From today's low up to this little box, like I can just kind of chart this and I can make it a different color. This is just a support area you're going to want to hold, okay? You're already sitting at a support from over here, and then you manufactured a low today with a nice little bullish engulfing candle on the 5 minute. So this little yellow box between, 464.75 and your current price, that's kind of the areas in which you want to hold. If that breaks, then could run back down to retest 462. Those are just your low time frames for the SPY, just so you can see what's happening intraday tomorrow. You do move up, might get a little bit of resistance around 468.5. After that, you got 469.5. So pretty much those would be two resistance you'd want to be looking at intraday. If you break back above 470, that would be amazing. We'll see if it can happen or not. And then we obviously have the supply line right here. So that's like your low time frames. When we go over to the daily, not for the S&P 500, but for pretty much all the other indices, you have a bearish engulfing candle on the daily. So you can see it on your NASDAQ, you can see it on the ARK ETF, you can see it on the Russell 2000. You can see it on the QQQ. So you have a bearish engulfing candle across the board on the indices apart from the SPY. Now, the SPY on the daily, we were talking about last night how if you really can't get momentum retesting these highs, there is a potential for classic bearish divergence if you're going off candle closes and not just candle wicks, or at least candle bodies. Let me not say closes, but going off candle bodies, you know, from these candle body highs to this one, you did make a higher high. Even if you're going off of wicks, you made pretty much the same high. You know, it'd be kind of like class B, classic bearish divergence, which means same high on price and then a lower high in your MACD. But it was just like a slightly lower high if you're looking at actual price. Now, you closed right over here. Look at this. The gap fill level from yesterday that we just blew right through, you actually closed right at. It wasn't only a gap fill, it was even like your 4-day support that we were just looking at on the 5-minute. It was that blue zone I was showing you. It was even a low from this day over here, November 18th and November 15th. So that's where market participants decided to close today. Going into tomorrow, if you sell off again, you could flip that MACD over to red and confirm classic bearish divergence. However, you're only going to have one red bar. So again, that could also, if we bounce back up next week, that could just kind of be invalidated, but we'll see. So that's like your daily time frame. Yeah, I mean, it was above the neckline, but it never got the confirmation close above the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders. However, if we go to my other S&P chart, this is another way I'm kind of looking at it. You can ignore those green lines and just focus on the white lines. But you have one touch over here, another touch here, and another touch here. You have 3 touches on your supply line, and then you have 2 touches on your demand line. You have 5 touches right there. This is known as a right-angled descending broadening wedge. And you currently have a partial decline. What does that mean? Within your pattern, you went down to your demand line, then you went up to your supply line, and then you dipped. But on your dip, you did not go all the way back down to your demand line, okay? You had only a partial decline, and then you went back up to your supply line. This pretty much gives you a decent probability of actually breaking out here rather than revisiting your demand line. However, you didn't get it today. You know, you were above it today, but you never really confirmed to break out today. So that's another way to maybe look at it. On the 4-hour chart, you also have some classic bearish divergence developing for the S&P 500. So now we're starting to see some bearish divergence on higher time frames for the S&P 500. So really, you just want this to either get invalidated by continuing up and letting these MACD islands start moving more green, or just having them confirm and underperform, which we have seen a couple different times. We look at this one, kind of underperformed. It confirmed right here, and then you actually went up, and then you eventually did drop. That was the last time you had 4-hour classic bearish divergence. So that's what I'm seeing on the SPY right now. If we look at a couple other time frames on your 1-hour chart, you have a bullish pin bar right over here. It was the second to last 1-hour candle of the day, but that was followed with a bearish engulfing candle technically over here. So kind of 50-50 there. You're just trying to hold on to this little support level here. And that's really it for the SPY. You can see what retrace it made. A little bit around the golden retrace as well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. In my opinion, if we can hold this 2-day low around 460 on the SPY, that's really all I want to see, because we're looking at that as a potential partial decline level for this right angle descending broadening wedge. And that's also this little level over here. You can see it was your high from October 29th. It was your high on December 3rd, high on December 6th, and then it was your low on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. And it was also a gap fill because you gapped above that. So, you know, 460 is a very, very, very big level. That's pretty much the biggest level of support I want to see. These are your 2 huge levels, okay? Let me go back to the SPY to keep it simple. Your huge resistance is around 470.5 and your huge support is around 460. Whichever one of those break first with confirmation on a daily candle close, I think could be your next move. So for example, you break up, I think you keep going up. You break down, I think you keep going down to your next support. So that's the easiest way to view the market right now, and that's really going to take a couple days. That's why the title stream is why the next couple days are very important. It might take a couple days to see which way market participants want to go, right? So that's what I'm watching in terms of the S&P 500 today. But again, last night on stream, came on the stream, I told all of you that, you know, more midterm, a lot of different individual stocks and the Russell 2000 were showing very, very bullish variables at the exact areas I've been talking about all week they showed very, very bullish variables last night on stream on the higher time frames. But what else did I also say? That on your 1 hour time frames, go back to last night's stream, I said you're getting overbought, you're a little bit exhausted, and I even talked about how you were retesting this resistance over here from all these highs. Let me go over to the 1 hour. I talked about how it was retesting. This was your close yesterday. You were retesting the PCZ of the harmonic and horizontal resistance. We talked about that. So you could see your lower time frames bearishness after the crazy rally yesterday played out today. But you still can argue a long-term bullish bias, obviously zooming out higher highs and higher lows, and you still have the potential of this playing out. Remember, we're only about 1% away from that neckline, right? So it's not impossible, even if it does go a little bit lower first, like really not impossible to eventually break that. So those are levels on the SPY. Keep a close eye on them. We're gonna move over to the Russell 2000, which we already talked about, bearish engulfing candle on the daily. However, you did have your you matched the close from December 1st, 213.26, 213.18. So you closed 2 cents higher than your lowest close of this downtrend or short-term downtrend. But in general, you're still just holding these areas, right? With the sell-offs that are happening time and time and time again, you're still, you tested these lows for 4 days over here. You've been testing these lows for 3 days over here now. So for a total of 7 days, bears have not been able to break below these levels that you got to these levels, right? So that's one huge thing I'm still watching despite that bearish engulfing candle. So hopefully that just doesn't really do much, but we'll see tomorrow. On lower time frames, things get pretty interesting. We obviously talked about that breakout yesterday on the 4 hour. 1 hour chart, we have that alternate bat, a little bit of a deep B to D wave, kind of coming back down. Let's go to even lower time frames, even lower. On the 15-minute, you have hidden bullish divergence on the Russell 2000. And then on the 5-minute, I charted this. I was originally watching it at the 113, didn't really do much, but eventually bounced over here. I'm gonna delete that for right now. But let me chart this. Again, a lot of the indices right now look just like this, and this is very, very important for tomorrow, okay? So let me kind of chart this out first, and I'm gonna run through the indices together. And again, for people who don't care about this, start caring about this if you trade stocks. Stop trading stocks blindly without looking at the overall market, okay? You're only losing an edge if you don't look at the overall market. So look at this supply line on the Russell 2000 on low time frames that it closed just up against. Look at the SPY on this supply line that it closed just up against. Look at the NASDAQ, which actually closed, it broke out of the supply line and even back tested it. And let's look at the ARK ETF. Same thing over here. You broke out of your supply line already. Let's look at the QQQ. You broke out of it already. On low time frames for the overall market, you pretty much created downsloping channels and falling wedges today. That's pretty much what your price action was. You were downtrending throughout the day, but you were losing that momentum of selling, right? The lower you were getting, the less selling pressure there was before you kind of started moving up a little bit at the end of the day. That's what creates falling wedges, and just wedges in general, unless they're broadening. But that's the easiest way to look at the market tomorrow. If we can break out of these supply lines and hold above them, back test them, confirm them, you actually could see a nice relief, short term. It might not bring you back to the highs of today, but maybe get a common retrace, 50%, 618, whatever it is, if we can break above these supply lines and hold today's low. But again, futures will probably really be a key to how we're going to open. And if we just open gapping under yesterday's low, then you're pretty far away from that supply line, but you can still break it later in the day. So it's still something you can watch throughout the day for day traders watching the stream. So that's your Russell 2000 and your SPY. Let me go over to the ARK ETF. Still just kind of in this descending broadening wedge, is still testing the supply line. You've had 2 fake outs now. Really it. There's not too much. You actually had your lowest close of this downtrend today on the ARK ETF, but just like I said on the Russell 2000, you're still just around the same lows despite that. So really the one bearish variable I'm keeping an eye on right now is just those bearish engulfing candles. Apart from that, you really don't have much of a technical change from what we were talking about last night. You gapped up and then you sold off the rest of the day, which created your bearish engulfing candles. On the QQQ and the NASDAQ, you have kind of 4-hour symmetrical triangles and you're near the demand lines. So this is a QQQ, you're near a demand line. Let's look at the NASDAQ. Same thing. We actually charted this last night. So that's another good thing. So we're testing those low time frame supply lines, but on those higher time frames, you're at a demand line, right? So you have a support on high time frames and you're just testing a resistance on low time frames. Something very similar to that would be Tesla. We take a look at this 4-hour chart. It was at this demand line right over here, right? Sitting at this demand line right over here when we talked about the last 2 nights on stream. But on the 30-minute, it was testing a supply line. And since it was at a demand line prior to testing the supply line on low time frames, you got increased probabilities for a breakout because you were at support on higher time frames when you were testing resistance on lower time frames. Okay, start thinking about stuff like that. So that's really how I'm looking at things for tomorrow. Low time frames look pretty good unless you gap down. If you gap down and take out today's low, then it's going to be a little bit of a stretch to retest those supply lines I'm bringing up right now. We'll come back to Tesla later. That's really how I'm looking at the market right now in terms of just tomorrow. In terms of like the next couple of days, as I started off in the beginning of the stream, you got to see which breaks first. Do we get back above 470.5 on the SPY first, or do we break under 460 on the SPY first? That's the main thing you want to watch. That's pretty much the answer to the title of the stream. Okay, that's why the next couple of days are important, because we're probably, unless we just keep going sideways, going to see which way is the break. And in terms of the SPY and a lot of large caps, and kind of even the same thing for the NASDAQ, instead of those levels, you can actually just look at these patterns right over here. It's going to kind of give me personally a judgment on like large caps and those types of stocks for the next couple of weeks, depending on which way we break. However, the Russell is still kind of in its own boat for right now, because it's still just trying to hold these lows, right? And today, I mean, you saw a lot of large caps down quite a bit. Apple was down 4%, AMD was down 5%, but a lot of like small caps, and again, small cap index was down 2%, but decent amount of small caps, like they sold off, and it was kind of like most of them were down. But compared to what we've been seeing, and I said this earlier in the week, like there's been days where the S&P was down 1%, and you can look across the board, small caps are down like 5 to 10%. Today, most of them on my watch list were down like 2 to 3%. So you're still not really getting super rough sell-offs on small caps, although the majority of them were red today, or at least that's what the index is showing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the market. Really not too different from last night, except you unfortunately had a pretty rough intraday price action today. I even said last night, you're testing resistance, you have overbought signals on low time frames, and you still could get a couple red days here and there, despite those larger things that I'm looking at. So not surprised with today's price action, apart from just the fact that you really didn't bounce at all from like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That did really surprise me, but you did get a little bit of a bounce towards the end of the day. Which again, if you follow me on Twitter, if you're in the Discord, I mean, I couldn't have made it a little bit easier, but you know, the timing was a little bit off, 10-15 minutes off, but I mean, I tried to say it as directly as I could. SPY, IWM, NASDAQ setting up for a power hour potentially, might be time to bounce. So yeah. And we got it towards the end of the day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll keep looking at futures overnight. That's the market for the most part. US 10-year. Still just going sideways, actually pull back a little bit. The VIX. Let's actually look at the 4-hour. Nope, the 1 hour. Pretty good. So as you saw, we got those hammer candles on the SPY 1 hour, or the pin bar candle on the SPY 1 hour. If we take a look at the NASDAQ, pin bar over here. If we take a look at the ARK ETF, pin bar over here. You got those candles on the 1 hour today. But if we take a look at the VIX, you got a bearish engulfing candle on the 1 hour right here, and you also have potential hidden bearish divergence on the 1 hour. So again, you're kind of getting the situation where on the daily for the indices, you're getting bearish engulfing candles apart from the SPY, but on the lower time frames for the indices, you're getting potential bullish variables unless you gap down. And then it's kind of the opposite for the VIX. On the lower time frames right now, you have bearish variables, but on the daily, you are actually pretty much holding that 200-day moving average, which I've been talking about for the last week to keep an eye on as support. So yeah, that's the VIX. Apart from that, gold moving higher. Did we not talk about this pin bar yesterday? The hidden bullish divergence, the flip of a previous supply line into a demand line. Why have I been talking about gold every night for the past week? There you go. Nice move on gold today. I know it's compared to like stocks and crypto, it's not much, but for gold, it's a nice bounce day. And it's trying to reclaim the 1796 level, which is interesting. The dollar, not really, this symmetrical triangle is really not playing out. It's kind of broke down this demand line now. So see which way that ends up. And then finally the Hang Seng Index down about 0.5%. Nothing too much going on. It's trying to find some support around 23.1K. And that's your market from today. So that's pretty much the breakdown. I still think there's a lot of individual assets looking like potential lower, not I mean, they are low risk unless, you know, you're not comfortable risking 4 or 5% on positions. But again, it just depends on how you're managing your own portfolio. But potential high reward opportunities with, from what it seems like, low risk are still really across the board on a lot of these mid caps that I'm keeping a close eye on, that we've been talking about for the whole entire week. So really not too much of a difference for me, but the next 2 days could tell us which way we break in the short term, which again could influence that. So we'll see. There's something else I want to talk about, but I forgot. Speaking of Tesla, Elon sold another 900 million. Yeah, he's been selling nonstop. And then Maxime also asked Cheddar, where did you learn how to trade? Lots of books. All right, so that's really the overall market. Where should we go to next? I'm not too sure. Maybe we talk about the swings first. Let's do that first. We're going to start with Fisker, which was down 6% today. Bearish engulfing candle, just like a lot of the indices. But still holding this little 1650 level. You can see this has been your support for the past 3 days. Really not too much to update on Fisker. There's not too much of any difference. It's still kind of broken this supply line on the 4 hour and maybe just back testing. You even have kind of a bullish pin bar. You're still just trying to hold that support. Hopefully you can keep holding it. We'll see what happens. GameStop on the 4 hour, another bearish engulfing candle, but you got a MACD crossover and you are out of the down sloping channel. So down a little bit since the entry, but not too much of any technical difference. You're going to be seeing a lot of these bearish engulfing candles on the daily for a lot of stocks today. That's why you see it on the indices. It works both ways. You gapped up on a lot of stocks today, and then you sold off for the majority of the day on a lot of stocks today. That creates your bearish engulfing candle. Palantir, yet another bearish engulfing candle, but putting its highest high of the week, I think. Actually, that was the 10th this week. No, 10th was last week. So you put in your high of the week today in the morning, and then you sold off, and now you've broken the supply line. So even with the bearish engulfing candles, you're breaking out of some supply lines, right? Keep a close eye on that. And you got that confirmed. Look at all these MACD crossovers as well. You got confirmed classic bullish divergence on Palantir now. You got confirmed classic bullish divergence on Zoom now. And also, I really like this daily candle on Zoom. You've got a double bullish pin bar formation right here with confirmed divergence. You're retesting previous resistance from over here as a support. Zoom is still looking just as technically strong to me. Doesn't mean it's going to go up for sure, but the probability is still the same there. Wix still kind of testing this little zone. MACD's close to crossing over on the daily. Bullish pin bar yesterday on the bearish engulfing candle from today. So you're just seeing a lot of those across the board, but still roughly just testing this little area. So not too much of a difference. SU was flat today, gapped up, and then it just kind of filled the gap, which I honestly don't mind after the bullish pin bar yesterday. You're still well above yesterday's lows, and that's another important thing on a lot of these stocks. I'm waiting. There we go. Mr. 90210 with the $100 super chat saying Merry Christmas. Thank you for changing vibes. Well, Merry Christmas to you as well and your family. And yeah, I mean, thank you all for, I try my best to help out as much as I can, but thank all of you for changing my life as well over the past year. So major vibes in the chat right now for Mr. 90210 with the $100 super chat. Thank you so much. That's the largest tip in a while. Sorry it's not popping up at the bottom. I need to enable super chats for that, but whoa. Thank you so much, Mr. 90210. I hope you're doing well. Sheesh, thank you. What a way to start the stream. Who we got vibes in the chats from? Let's see. Dave Plebere, the guy, Cheddar Free, Zeke, Exclusive Force X, Scrooge, Big Nate, Medi, Barasan, Maxime, Scrooge again, Mr. Robinson, Scotty. Wow. Thank you so much again, Mr. 902. I don't know if you sent anything in the chat before that, but yeah, really appreciate it. Vibes. One more time. All right, so SU, hidden bullish divergence, still developing, fill that gap. I just want to see it go up, obviously, but even if we look at it like this, you kind of broke a little supply line there and then back tested it today. Got some vibes from Justin and Frank as well. Let's go GM. I think it was down a little bit after hours. It was down 3%, 56.75, so just above the stop after hours. Pretty much puts you at the demand line. So again, earlier in the week, I said on GM when you were up over here and you got this candle right here. Literally, this was Monday. I said on Monday, I think that was Monday, that you could come back down to these areas, go back to Monday's stream, it's timestamped, that you could come back down to these areas to test it before going higher. Because look at how important this area is, okay? You're working on a potential, I'm just gonna draw this so it's quicker. You're working on a potential double bottom here. You're back testing what was once a resistance as a support, or what was once a supply line as a demand line, and the 200-day moving average. So you're putting in all of that testing at the same time. So really, if it does gap down tomorrow into this area, I just want to see it bounce off the open. You know, it might go under it for a little bit. There's a gap to fill right over here. The gap fill is 56.17, and this top is 3 cents under that. So we'll see which way it closes tomorrow, hopefully above that. VLO is up like 1% today. Still just testing the zone. VLO really is just, there's these swings every so often that just take forever to go, and VLO has been one of those for a while now. So just really not doing much still. SWN closed inches above the stop today. 450, it closed 2 cents above the stop. Would really like to see it bounce back tomorrow so you don't paint this candle. It's not a bearish engulfing candle, but if you close like this tomorrow, it's pretty much your lowest close in about 3 weeks. So hopefully it can bounce back tomorrow. And then finally, DraftKings did unfortunately stop out. This was personally, this was one of my biggest losses in the last couple weeks. I had some calls in these areas and I cut them around over here at a pretty big loss, but I would have been down a lot more if I didn't cut them. And yeah, it closed under the lows from May and July of 2020. Bearish engulfing candle, it stopped out. It didn't work out. So a lot of these swings, there's been a few to stop out in the past week. Just really hoping that the ones that are, there's still a lot that are not stopped out, and really most of them, I could look at it right now. Most of the ones, the sheet's really red right now, but if we take a look at this, all of these right here, the max loss on these is 6%. And again, we're red 3 out of 4 days this week so far. So, they're not down a whole lot. It's just kind of, these 5 out of 27, they're either down a lot or already got stopped out. But the rest of these, you only need a couple good days for all these to flip over to green. So, that's one thing I'm keeping a very, very close eye on the weekly sheet in general. It's just a lot of these stocks, like they're still showing the same variables, and it's not too hard for them to go into the green. So that pretty much recaps the swings. We had one premium swing hit the target this week. It's yet another good week for premium options. Today, Tesla and SPY calls failed, but then I shared some QQQ calls after that, kind of made up for both of those combined. And you combine all these profits and losses just percent-wise, 307% potential returns. I updated this today, which is like a sheet I have with the total sum of percent return. This is just basically, I just literally use the sum function on Google Sheets. So just combine all of these profits and losses. It's not the best way to do it, and also depends on position sizing, but it's really the simplest way for me to do it. And if you were to, your number you'd get is around 8,000% potentially. So yeah, it's no joke. I know the swings haven't been the best for the past month, but I've been trying to put in work here. This is like, let's see, 40 divided by 30, $1.30 a day for a potential sum of returns of this in 2 months. I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit here, just for the options, not for the swings recently, but for the options. If you're in premium, it's been a movie. Even this week was, pretty good. Again, it's, the win rate's not insanely good, but it's all about reward to risk, right? Having a fixed system, right? 307% this week, 300% last week, 37% the week before, 120% the week before that. What the? 5,642%, mainly thanks to MU, but we also had Tesla and PROG calls run that week. Oh, you can't even see all of this. I'm so sorry. Yeah, But last month, I just looked at the last month of the swings. Obviously, it's been I think this might be the worst month in terms of not losses, the losses have been kept pretty small percent wise, but in terms of win rate, might be one of the worst months ever. But again, it's all about the bigger picture. Options are still crushing it week after week after week. It's all about the bigger picture. At the end of the year, I am going to update this because this only goes up to week 40 and we're on week 57 right now. So at the end of the year, I'm going to update this to see what it's currently at. But still, just all about the bigger picture, all right? Making more than you're losing. And the sheet still reflects that. I mean, it's not 3,000 to negative 1,000 anymore in terms of gains compared to losses because of the last month, but it's still going to be 100% over 1,000% if you subtract 1,000 from 3,000. So yeah, bigger picture, stay patient. Like seriously, these are the times where I get excited because you're getting a lot of opportunities and things can turn around very, very quickly in terms of the swings. And if it's not swings and if you're in premium, then I mean, the last 2 months have been insane. I don't even think anybody could. Yeah, I mean, that number speaks for itself. So that link's in the description. Also, one-on-one classes. Signups will be closing soon. I don't know how soon, but soon. We've already got a bunch of people signed up for classes. I only have a couple weeks to do them or a few weeks to do the classes. So premium links in the description, one-on-one classes in the description. Whatever level of trading you're on, I'm going to spend an hour trying to help you speed up your process. You can ask me any questions about trading. I'm not a financial advisor. I'll just give you my opinions. I've done around 50 one-on-one calls. That's a very rough number. I actually haven't even looked at how many, but just off the top of my head, it's probably around 50. And all of them went amazing. So links are in the description. The free course is in the description. The Discord link is in the description, which is free to join if you want to join premium. My disclaimers, go check out all the stuff in the description and let's keep it going. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's talk about CLOV. Which broke out of the supply. A lot of stocks did this today. I said this earlier. A lot of stocks have a bearish engulfing candle on the daily because of the gap up and then intraday sell-off. But a lot of stocks, just because they went sideways, they broke out of downsloping channels. Look at CLOV, right? Look at Fisker on the 4-hour, right over here. Just because they went sideways. Because again, when you have a downsloping line, all you need to do is go sideways to break out of it, which is kind of the cool thing about reversal patterns. So a lot of those stocks, you're getting the bearish engulfing, but you're also breaking supply lines. On the 4-hour view, it really hasn't, but it's kind of testing it. And you didn't give up all of yesterday's gains on that final 4-hour candle, which is good. On the 1-hour for CLOV, you're getting close. You did test it, tested the supply line, couldn't break it today. I think honestly, I think there would have been a decent probability of CLOV breaking the supply line today because of the partial decline and the volume going up into that test. But again, how is CLOV going to break it right here when the SPY literally did this today? When the SPY does this today. So I think it was really the market that just kind of prevented CLOV from, breaking out today, but we'll see if it can do it eventually. Also, that depends on the market. And then on the 15-minute, you have like a potential inverse head and shoulders with potential hidden bullish divergence. Again, a lot of these low time frames looking really, really interesting, even on the 5-minute on CLOV. So not too much of a change there. It was down a few percent today. For me, I'm just mainly waiting to see when it breaks out of this 1-hour pattern. It will at some point, whether it's here or whether it's here, and hopefully not there, but it will at some point unless it's delisted or something, because again, it's down sloping. You just need to go sideways. So that's CLOV. What else? Let's talk about some other trades. Let me think. This is not a trade, but Apple, I told you all last night. Like, I can't even make this up. Again, I'm gonna, on all the streams, and I want new people to understand this. I know there's a lot of people that just talk about how they're making money in their wins. For me, I think losses and how things are not working are just as educational. So yesterday wasn't a bad day for me, but it could have been a really good day for me if I didn't get Apple puts. Yesterday after the FOMC, I was already long on IWM calls that were up like 200%. I was long on CLOV calls that went up probably like 50%. They were like weekly, so it was really easy for them to go up. So I was already up a lot on those two positions yesterday. And then after the FOMC meeting, I saw Apple testing a resistance. It was at an upper Bollinger Band. It was overbought. And I got some puts, right? And I talked about this last night. I got some puts over here in Apple, and I stopped out of them kind of like over here. Could have waited till today. Those puts, I looked at them. They were up a lot over here. So I guess, it still was a small loss somewhat. But if I would have just waited, eventually it did make the move. I just want to give an update on that. And for Apple in general, it's testing this really, really big level since for the last 2 days, it's been finding support around 171, 172. Broke under it, went down to 170. Oh no, sorry, 172, 173 is kind of the support. Broke under it and then went down to 170 today, and then it kind of sprung to retest it. Same thing happened to Tesla. You could see it's been holding this support since December 14th, around 9:30ish. It unfortunately it broke it, and then it went back above. Then it closed like right around it. So I'm going to be watching these make or break areas on Tesla and Apple tomorrow. Okay, this little blue zone over here on Tesla, I'm going to be watching. I think it's bullish above intraday and bearish below intraday, but again, you need confirmation. Same thing on Apple. I think it's bullish above intraday and bearish below intraday, but again, you need confirmation as well as market confluence. Okay, so that's AMD and Tesla, what I'm watching. And let's talk about Tesla right now first. So the past couple of nights on stream, I've been talking about Tesla and everything going on the chart. So what you talked about last night on stream, it's at the apex of this wedge. This was your candle yesterday. You had potentially and still potentially hidden bullish divergence on the daily, classic bullish divergence on the 4-hour. You added the main line. We talked about all of this last night. On the 1 hour, you had triple classic bullish divergence. On the 30-minute, same thing here. You double bottomed and broke out of a down sloping channel. So all of that cool stuff, and it did make a nice move. I shared Tesla calls with premium members, so I'm gonna kind of break down 2 trades right now. I shared Tesla calls with premium members yesterday. Now let me bring up which calls those were. So they were December 23rd, 1080 calls, $1,080. December 23rd. I shared them with premium members at $5.03 yesterday, and this morning those calls were at $7. So the calls pretty much went from $5 to $7. So potentially 40% profits there. I was hoping for a larger move to fill this gap, but again, same thing like we just talked about on CLOV, where it was going for it, and then the market just kind of said no. You know, that's just kind of what happened to a lot of stocks. I think a lot of stocks had really, really good potential today. A lot of stocks had a great like first half an hour of the day or first 15, 20 minutes. I just think a lot of them had really good potential, but that overall flush just started bringing a lot of these trade setups down. And then towards the end of the day, we started getting some new, nice looking charts. And I ended up sharing Tesla calls pretty much around over here. Actually, in the Discord and on Twitter, I said Tesla might bounce here. I'm not going to bring up the tweet, but you can go check it out. I said Tesla might, I'm going to bring it up. Okay. My ego's too big, I guess. So let me bring it up really quickly. And just so I can break down how I was looking at this, if I can find it. All right. So I shared this tweet. It was also probably in the Discord. I shared this tweet. I said Tesla bounce time. You could see it was testing around an 886, hidden bullish divergence at a support, and it ended up making this move right here. I shared that tweet at the screen there. It went up to over here. It made a nice little move. And then it came back down to the support, and I saw this little hammer. Let me go back to trading view so you can see it's here. So, and then after they made this move, it came down to support. It made this little hammer candle right here. And it was at the lower Bollinger Band, as you can see right over there, right on that hammer candle. And I shared Tesla calls right here with premium members again. So we had the initial calls that pretty much was, I guess, this move, and those were 40% profit. And then it came all the way back down. Then I shared other calls, which the calls I shared yesterday were for next week's Friday, or next Friday next week. The calls I shared today were expiring tomorrow. So unfortunately, I shared them here. It did make a nice move first. Maybe the calls were up to, I don't even remember, maybe like 10% or something. And then they just failed. So yeah, we had a 40% profitable trade on Tesla and then a negative 20% loss. So again, reward to risk. So that was Tesla breakdown. I want to talk about SPY now from premium. I originally had it charted like this, right? And let me try and find the timestamp. So today at 2:43. Okay, on this low, okay, because I charted from this low to this low, and I saw it was on the third test of that demand line. There was developing classic bullish divergence. It was at a lower Bollinger Band. You had a bullish engulfing candle, and right after this bullish engulfing candle, this was the candle I shared SPY calls on, and boom, just failed. You had support, demand line, Bollinger Band, divergence, even increasing volume, all the technicals I look for that work out a bunch of the time on a lot of different day trades, they just fail. This is why you need risk management. This is the part of technicals that are not certainty. Just the calls failed, and then it eventually went back up. For people who did hold those calls despite them failing, it went back up to being in 25% profit up here. So yeah, that was that. So yesterday we had Tesla calls, and also I forgot to even mention AMC calls work out. I shared AMC calls yesterday at 3:35, so right before the close, I guess. Was this yesterday? 15? Yeah, so I shared AMC calls right around over here, and then obviously AMC gapped up this morning, and at this high I think the calls were up about 30%. I keep on mixing up Tesla and AMC. One of them was 30% at the open, one of them was 40%, so it gapped up. So those calls were a win, and then it came back down today, but just wanted to include that. So I shared 3 different options in premium yesterday. I shared AMD calls, which were up 170%. So yesterday I shared AMD calls, which were up 170% this morning. I shared Tesla calls, which were up 40% this morning, and I shared AMC calls, which were up 30%. So we had a nice little hat trick there on the options that I shared yesterday. And then after that, this afternoon, I shared, like I just said, SPY calls that failed but eventually went back up, and then I also shared Tesla calls which failed but also kind of went back up. And then the final one was QQQ, which I alerted QQQ to premium members right over here, and at this high over here they were up, I think 20%, no 40%, sorry. So it made a 0.5% move in like 20 minutes after I shared an alert on QQQ calls, and the calls went up 40%, the QQQ went up 0.5%. Very classic wedge divergence, nothing too crazy. So the one win today in terms of percent overrides the 2 losses, because this was 40%, the losses were 20, and then we had 3 wins yesterday. So again, I'm just trying to help you understand, if you're not in premium, how you get to a number like 8,000% in 2 months. Okay, how do you get to that number? It's consistency. It's having a system, understanding that the system can fail, allowing it to fail with proper risk management, and then when it's time for you to get the big ones, understand that you have a good setup, trust the setup, and let it ride. That's really what it is. And it's just staying consistent, right? You're gonna have times like this, which you're winning almost every single trade. I mean, look at that. And then you're gonna have times, it's a little bit hard to find it here, but you're gonna have times like this where you're not winning every single trade, but you just want the reward to risk where your winning trades are much bigger, right? This is 160% between 2 winning trades, right? And that was less than that. I mean, that's 85% between 3 losing trades. So I'm trying to really talk about all this stuff on stream. If you all don't care about it, I can stop bringing up the premiums, day trades and stuff. But I don't know. I just feel like, as you can see, the swings have not been doing good in the last month. Right? They've not been doing so good in the last month, but the options in the last 2 months have been doing amazing. So if there's a way that I'm, looking for profits, I want to teach about that as well. If the swings aren't doing well, I want to teach about other ways to make money in the market, which we've been able to do. So there's a recap on that. We talked about crypto, the stock market, the ongoing swings. We talked about CLOV. We talked about Tesla, AMC, Apple. Didn't really talk too much about AMD. Now I'm going to talk about 2 other stocks, and I might wrap up the stream a little bit early after that. But first up, AT&T. Go back to last night's stream, and then go to 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 18 seconds in. I'm sure nobody's going to do it, but if you were to go back to that part of last night's stream, I said you're always looking for low risk, potential high reward opportunities. And last week, I shared this chart on AT&T. I went over it on the stream. There was probably 10 to 15 people in the stream when I went over it. I shared this chart over here, okay? At a support range tested multiple times since 1993. Most oversold weekly RSI has ever been. Classic bullish divergence on the weekly MACD. At a PCZ of a bullish shark and a bullish crab. At a 1272 Fibonacci trace of a previous low to high. I shared all that. I wouldn't stop talking about how beautiful this chart looked in the Discord and on stream last week. And today, with the catalyst, AT&T went up 7%. AT&T shares rise after Morgan Stanley upgrade. So upgraded the company stock to overweight from equal weight while lowering its price target to 28 from 32. They said AT&T's stock performance has created an attractive risk-reward opportunity. What do I talk about? And this is why I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times I agree with Morgan Stanley on a lot of things. Probably not one thing I don't agree with is what Adam Jonas said about Lucid, because that was proved wrong very, very quickly. It literally rallied like, I think stock price on Lucid doubled like weeks after he gave it the downgrade. But back in February, if any of you were here, I put out a swing on Fisker. And let me show you where it was. Where's Fisker? Right over here, I put out a swing on Fisker. And then a week or two later, Adam Jonas gave Fisker a crazy good price target, in my opinion. I think his bull case price target was $90. And that's obviously, you know, further out, but he gave it I don't remember the actual price target. It might have been $30. I can't remember for sure, but Adam Jonas is an analyst at Morgan Stanley. It helped out that swing. And then even for those of you who were here back in January, February, I was insanely bullish on QS. Right over here, I put out a swing on QS right around over here, and my price target was $70. It literally went right up to the price target. Even Adam Jonas's price target was $70 on his upgrade. This was the most amount of profit I've ever made on a trade still to this day. I was very, very heavy in calls back then. And yeah, so I mean, Fisker, QS, now AT&T. I mean, me and Morgan Stanley, like, I'm starting to agree with a lot of things they're saying. But yeah, I mean, point still stands on AT&T. Everything that I just talked about is still there. And now you can get a weekly bullish engulfing candle, and your classic bullish divergence is developing still. It could take a long time for all this stuff to play out. It's AT&T, but variables are there. So Adam Jonas is low-key in the Discord. Says Mehdi in the chat. So that's AT&T, and then I want to talk about one other chart, which is Ford. I mean, it's going parabolic on the daily, but let's go down to lower time frames. So let's break this down really, really quickly. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be watching Ford. Okay, you can see a 15-minute classic bullish divergence, right? And you broke this supply line right over here, okay? It looks like a lot of the indices that I showed you earlier in the stream. And yeah, Ford's breaking out this little wedge. The one thing, which is why I might wait like a couple hours, is this. You still haven't filled this gap over here. So I don't know, maybe I wait for it to fill the gap and see if it shows some nice volume there, you know, some good technicals on like the 5-minute. So yeah, I'm watching Ford tomorrow morning. I think I charted some even lower time frames. Yeah, on the 5-minute, you could see it. You have classic bullish divergence there. So watching Ford, you know, might want to fill this gap, especially if the market's red or not, but we'll see tomorrow morning. But just want to also bring that up. Don't even know if I'll trade it or not, but it's on my watch list. And yeah, futures still slightly green. Bitcoin, Ethereum not moving too much right now. Hopefully the last 40 minutes or so was educational. And yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I don't know if you're still here, Mr. 90210, but thank you again for the 100. Haven't read the chat, so let me read the chat. Guys, that's a pretty wild percent, not gonna lie. I don't know if you're talking about the premium last 2 months percent or not. And to be fair, like, yeah, I think Maxime says the MU call. Yeah, the MU call was 5,000. It was 5,000%. So, you know, even without that, 3,900% in 2 months, I'm never going to complain about that. But it was a part of it, you know. It was only one trade, but it still was a part of all the trades, right? And then we even had 1,000% on Fisker. So if we take out both the Fisker 1,000% and the MU 5,000%, that's 6,000. Still around 2,000% in 2 months. Like, even if it was 500%, I'd still be happy. Like, this number, you know, it's cool. It's a cool number. Again, this is rough. It's, you know, it could be a little bit lower, a little bit higher. I try my best, but, you know, a lot of these might be like 19 and I put 20. Maybe this was like 44 and I put 45. Maybe this was like 98 and I put 100. And then also, again, these are potential returns. So I want to also make all that clear. But yeah, it's been a fun time with options. I mean, this week alone, I've shared like a lot. So that's forward. What's up, Scotty? Cheddar Freeze, I don't know if you're still in the stream, but thank you for sharing the one-on-one class sign-up link. With Omicron, sideline sports, DraftKings will be even lower. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't really know enough about everything going on there for me to really speak on it, so I kind of don't want to. But Medi says I'm gonna be adding half my pay on DraftKings till it bounces again. Have a good one, Barsline. Didn't see that message earlier. Justin says keep doing it. The premium folks appreciate the recap. Yeah. Also, I didn't even think about it like that. I was thinking more about doing the recap so that non-premium members could kind of get education on how we've been so successful with options and premium. But also, I guess that is really true. For premium members, it also gives more explanation on top of what I'm sharing in the options channel. Thank you for also dropping the Discord link, Cheddar. And Cheddar said, come hang with Adam Jonas. And Mr. 90210, I can't even speak. Mr. 90210 did send a message. Really appreciate what you do. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Have a good night as well. Have a great weekend. Have a great Christmas. Thank you again so much for the 100. Yeah, see you in the chats tomorrow. So yeah, good stream. Thank you all for supporting me. I'll be live again Sunday. Yeah, I'll be live again Sunday most likely. Keep saying but there's like three or four things I wanted to talk about the stream that I just completely forgot about, which is like kind of annoying me. Like, what was I gonna say? Let me skip that song. I don't know. My memory is just not good. So there was a bunch of other things I wanted to talk about that I just can't remember right now. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. Make sure to join the Discord. Premium links in the description. Prices will probably be going up in... I gotta see when. I don't even remember when the last price raise on premium was, but prices will be going up probably for sure in January. I don't think there's going to be a price raise for premium this month, but in January prices will be going up. One-on-one calls, classes are in the description. I really need to get some sleep. One-on-one classes are in the description, and the free course, everything's in the description. Have a good night. Thank you for watching the stream. Thank you again, Mr. 90210 for the tip. Just hit the like button. Peace out, everybody.
Mm-hmm.